Okay, good afternoon, dear students. In the last presentation, we discussed about gel filtration chromatography. What is the principle and what are the different types of gels? What are the different types of gels? Cross-linked dextran, which is available in the market by the name Cefadex. Then agarose gel, available mostly by the name Cefaros. Polyacrylamide gel, porous glass beads, and polystyrene or styragel. These are the different types of gel that can be used to perform gel permeation chromatography. Now, what is Cefadex? Okay, for most of the proteins and biomolecule, Cefadex is the popular choice of gels used for gel permeation chromatography. Okay, now how it is produced? Leuconostoc mesenteroids is a microorganism which when leuconostoc mesenteroids is involved in sucrose fermentation, large polymers of glucose are formed. These polymers, known as dextrans, are used to prepare Cefadex. Okay. Now, these dextran molecules are actually cross-linked by using a chemical agent like epichlorhydrin. Okay. So, epichlorhydrin is used to perform cross-linking of dextran to form Cefadex. The pore size of each gel is controlled by the molecular weight of the dextran and the amount of epichlorohydrin that is used for its preparation. Cefadex gels are insoluble in water, stable in bases, weak acids, mild reducing agent and oxidizing agent. Cefadex gels are swollen in water. Uh, Apart from water, they can be swollen in glycol, even in DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide. Okay. Now, you can control the cross-linking and various classes of gel beads with exclusion limit between 1 to 2 lakh Dalton can be produced. Now, the gels are identified by the number such as G25, G50, G100 like that, which refers to their water regain value. What is water regain value? Amount of water taken up by in the completely swollen gel granule by 1 gram of Cefadex of the gel multiplied by a factor of 10. Okay, when I'm saying G25, that means the water regain value is 2.5. And how 25 name is given? To 2.5 into 10, that is 25. So G25, that means the Cefadex gel has a water regain value of 2.5. Right? Exclusion limit. What is the molecular exclusion limit? Molecular exclusion limit is the size, or you can say diameter of the smallest molecule that cannot enter inside the gel. Okay, diameter of the smallest molecule that cannot enter inside the gel is the molecular exclusion limit. Like if you are using Cefadex gel G25, the molecular exclusion limit is 5000. If we are using G50, it has a water regain value of 5 and molecular exclusion limit of 10,000 and so on. In this way, gels are available in the market which can be used depending upon the requirement. The second type of gel that is used is polyacrylamide, which is obtained by polymerizing acrylamide. For preparation of polyacrylamide gel, we require acrylamide, bisacrylamide, timid and ammonium persulfate. We have studied its preparation when we studied gel electrophoresis. Now, polyacrylamide gels are identified by numbers like P10, P100, okay, which if multiplied by a factor of 1000 will indicate the molecular exclusion limit. Polyacrylamide gels are used to separate molecules up to 3 lakh Dalton size, right? The third type is agarose gel, produced from agar. It's a linear polysaccharide having alternating residues of D-galactose and 3,6-anhydro-L-galactose units. Okay, and their gelling property is because of the intermolecular and intramolecular hydrogen bonding. The gels are hydrophilic and almost completely free of any ionic groups. So ionic group or charge groups are, you can say, absent. It is absolutely inert to the solutes that are being separated. Because of its great porosity, it can be used to prepare molecules, separate molecules and particles up to a, you can say, molecular weight of million Daltons, right? So agarose gel finds wide application in the study of viruses, nucleic acids, polysaccharide, etc. It is one of the best gels, okay? And the gels are compatible with all aqueous buffers, active in the range of 4 to 10. Gels have also been prepared having pH 13. High salt concentration does not affect agarose gel, but we have to take care of the temperature. Freezing temperature and temperature higher than 30 degrees Celsius can alter the gel properties, and that's why when we are using agarose gel, we have to carry out the separation in the range of 0 to 30 degree Celsius. They are available in the market in the name like Cephorus 2B, Cephorus 4B, Cephorus 6B. So this 2, 4 and all is the you can say percentage of agarose present, right? The next type is, the fourth type is Styra gel. Styra gel is a rigid cross-linked polystyrene gel. What is Styra gel? It is a rigid cross-linked polystyrene gel which can be prepared having different porosities. Styra gel is used when non-aqueous separations are desired. Okay, when separations are carried out in organic solvent which are non-aqueous, we prefer using Styra gel. Then what are the solvents that are used to swell the Styra gel? It can be tetrahydrofuran or benzene or trichlorobenzene, or you can say chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, etc. It's very unstable in water, acetone and alcohol. It is unaffected by temperature as high as 150 degrees Celsius, right? The next type of gel bead is controlled pore glass beads. That means porous glass beads. These are fine glass spheres, small fine glass spherical you can say particles prepared from borosilicate glass having many number of pores on it, and it gives total rigidity to the gel, bed, separation column bed, right? The glass beads however have a disadvantage that the proteins are adsorbed on their surface, and this problem can be circumvented by we can overcome this problem by using hexamethyl disilazine, right? And porous glass spheres have a molecular exclusion limit ranging from 3000 to 9 million Dalton. So large macromolecules can be separated by this technique. Okay. Now let us discuss how gel permeation chromatography is performed. It can be performed either by using a column or by using a thin layer chromatographic technique. If you are performing by using a column, then at the bottom of the column we have to place a nylon net or a glass wool plug and then pour the gel slurry. So previously swollen gel slurry is added and allowed to settle. Then air bubbles must be removed by connecting with a vacuum pump, and there should be a level of liquid always present above the top layer of the gel, and then we load the sample on the top of the gel bed. Okay. Now how to swell the gel? Why it is necessary to swell the gel? Gel is available mostly in the form of dry powder. Okay, so it has to be mixed with water or any other, we can say, organic solvent in which it is soluble, in which it can swell. So it is swollen either in water or in a weak salt solution. Swelling is carried out overnight in most of the cases, or sometimes 3 days are required for swelling the gel. But if you want to speed up the process of swelling the gel, we can boil it in a water bath for 1 to 5 hours. However, porous glass beads need not be swollen. Then you load the sample on the top of the gel and pour the eluting solvent at a steady rate. You can say at a uniform rate, the eluting solvent is poured on the surface of the gel after the sample has been loaded and sample has sunk. Okay, and then as the eluting solvent flows down the column, various fractions of the solute are collected, and various fractions that are collected are analyzed by performing ultraviolet absorption or refractive index, or their radioactivity is measured if they were radio labeled. Okay, now sometimes in order to know the void volume of the gel column or to know what is the size of the pores, blue dextran molecule is used. Blue dextran is a very high molecular weight compound which is incorporated into the sample to help in the calculation of void volume. Okay, now let us discuss about the applications. Okay, in the next, I will discuss about the applications in the next video.